idea. I will find him!
You're a breed. Men are brave.
It's not about deserve. It's about what you believe.
Could've just peed on him.
Like brunch. Like, what is brunch?
The story of the Defiance is well known.
What, we some kind of suicide squad?
Heroes don't kill people.
Well, I do.
Martha!
Hello everyone and welcome back to Enter the SnyderVerse here on YouTube, Spotify and anywhere else you can find all good podcasts from. I'm one of your hosts, I'm Nathan.
And I'm one of your other hosts, I'm Kyle.
And today we are looking at the 2017 Justice League.
That's right, Zach Snyder's Justice League.
Zack Snyder's Justice League, or is it Zack Snyder's Justice League? He's credited, Kyle.
I was watching this film, it said directed by Zach Snyder, and who's the film to lie to me about such things?
Who is the film to lie to you about such? Exactly, Kyle. This is Zack Snyder's through and through.
This is his artistic vision.
This is what the artist intended.
Do you think we've annoyed enough people yet?
Probably, yeah. This is where people click off, so yeah.
Mm-hmm. Now, of course, this is colloquially known as the Jostice League.
Yep, 2017's Jostice League, yeah.
As redirected by Joss Whedon. You probably know more of the background details of this than I do.
Right, yeah, okay. So, right after Batman vs Superman had come out, they kind of just ran right into Justice League from a production standpoint. Wonder Woman also was happening. And after principal photography had been basically completed, Zack Snyder and his wife Deborah Snyder went through a personal family tragedy. And they left the project to deal with their personal lives. And it was big news that, you know, all big budget movies have to have reshoots. Just because you see what the assembled cut is, and you go, well, we need to wiggle bits around here. And this is normal, happens all the time. But Zack Snyder, for very understandable reasons, was unable to be present for it. And they got Joss Whedon in, and, you know, DC had kind of been getting a little bit battered at this point. But Joss Whedon's, he's the guy who done Avengers.
Yes.
Avengers 2012 and Avengers Age of Ultron, right? Huge, successful crossover superhero outings. Like, on paper, this makes perfect sense as like a creative
Avengers
choice.
is the template for this kind of movie, specifically the first one.
Yep, exactly. It looks like I can see what he was trying to do. There's a lot of stuff in this film that's clearly...
There is a lot of stuff in this film.
There is a lot of stuff in this film, but there's a lot of attempts to hold it together and get it into the 2-hour window. Because this film was almost exactly 2 hours on the nose.
Yes.
And you can see also Joss Whedon, given the circumstances of Zack Snyder's exit, isn't really trying to take credit for the film. Like, he's trying to make it the way Zack Snyder would make it. So, for instance, I have here in my notes, the opening of the film, we get the Justice League flag that flaps us into the titles, you know, it's the Everybody Knows song. And the world's going to hell, Superman is dead. And that whole sequence looks very, very, very similar to Zack Snyder's previous comic book outing in The Watchmen. Mm-hmm. It's very, very similar.
And that's not from Zack Snyder's cut?
No, that is not in the Snyder cut. That is a Joss Whedon feature.
Interesting.
Yeah, right?
I am going to make a request of you for this episode, because as we've already said, we are going to be doing Zack Snyder's Justice League as well.
Yeah.
Let's try and... Obviously it's going to be impossible, but let's try and keep comparisons to Zack Snyder's Justice League to a minimum until we get to that episode.
Yeah.
Let's try and treat this as its own movie.
That makes sense. That makes sense. But I'm just telling you that, like, Joss Whedon is clearly trying here to make a cohesive picture that doesn't look like it was two different directors. Made it.
And the result is a movie that feels like nobody directed it.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly, right? It looks like a studio duct tape job. It looks like they're trying to make sure the film can float on water.
Well, let me do my customary critics and audience scores, shall I?
Yeah, please do, Kyle, please do.
So for Justice League 2017, we have a critic score of 39% and an audience score of 67%. So, you know, not strong numbers. We are positive on the audience side, but yeah,
nothing.
In terms of where we are in this podcast, this is a return to form. You know, we had a bit of a spike with Wonder Woman, but now we're back to standard here.
Listen, I think that I find this Justice League interesting historically just because of the two different versions thing. And I know we're going to judge this film by its own merits, but I gotta say, just because I know the other version that exists, I have this filter on my brain like a veil.
You can see exactly what is originally in the film and what's not.
Yeah, I can see even clearly now that we're in a post Zack Snyder's Justice League world, where I can see, oh, here is where the studio said we'll save an hour here by putting in a 30-second scene where Bruce Wayne and Wonder Woman walk along a lakeside here. You know, I can clearly see X, Y, or Z. I suppose we will try and treat this as its own thing, but this will be an exercise for me
listen,
in a way it won't be for you.
Even to me, a lot of the reshoots are very clear. Just in the way that, obviously, with Ben Affleck, he looks very different between reshoots.
Yeah, he does. I think he was also going through some personal stuff.
Yeah, he looks a bit weird. I don't mean to be, like, offensive or anything, but he looks strange in the reshoots.
He is not in as a good shape as he was.
No,
for
definitely not. Yeah, because in Batman v Superman.
And even the principal photographer for Justice League, he still kind of looks in similar shape. But any of the reshoot stuff, it's like 8 months later, time has marched on.
Which, to be fair, like, he doesn't have to keep up that kind of commitment the whole time. That's not reasonable.
But in screen continuity, you can see it.
Yes, you can see it. That's the point. Yeah,
you can see it.
Anyway, so, I mean, I think you've already stated, but why don't you give your overall thoughts on this movie?
Yeah, so my overall thoughts on this movie are, it's just a bit of a mess. I'm also, however, slightly, despite me saying it's a bit of a mess, I'm also kind of a soft apologist for the attempt. But now, it's the studio's own fault, but I don't necessarily hold Joss Whedon responsible for this. Like, you must just accept that the rushing of the universe has been done now. We're here. We're at Justice League. We've done the Civil War as their second outing. We haven't set up 3 members of the team yet. If the studio are insisting on working at this pace, the creator of the project can only do so much to introduce the characters in the project that the studio want. You know? If the studio wanted them to do a bunch of solo movies and set it all up, I'm sure a number of creatives could have achieved that, you know? But if the studio want them to rush it, a creator is somewhat handcuffed at what they can actually provide into the film of this scale if you haven't given them sufficient runway. And I don't think the creatives have been. So Zack Snyder has made a big film because how else are you going to satisfy, like...
You need to fit a Flash film, an Aquaman film, and a Cyborg film in there somewhere.
Somewhere, right? But the studio have said, no, we need bums and seats. We're going to have 15 less showings of Justice League per day if this film is 4 hours long. We need 2 hours. We need something packageable that theatres can show to audiences regularly. I didn't say that word correct at all. On the reg.
That's fine. Well, in a certain sense, this isn't even Justice League's fault, because this stuff started in Batman v Superman. Yeah,
absolutely. But so that's what I'm going to say when you're asking, like, what are my thoughts about this film? You know, I have complicated thoughts because the final product I feel difficult to judge in the vacuum. I'm like, well, here's what they were trying to do. The studio wanted something that was 2 hours long. Here's the probably more creatively fulfilling film that Zack Snyder produced, and then the studio says, we need this at 2 hours, we can't have this at this length, even if maybe the film is technically better, we need to make money. So you cut it down to 2 hours long, and you film a bunch of patchwork scenes that sort of cut out 40 minutes here, and 20 minutes here, and 15 minutes here, you know? and try and get it to all work together. And because of that, that's what makes me the soft apologist that I am, where I'm like, it's not really this film's fault, it's the studio's business model that's at fault. The only things that I can wholeheartedly critique by saying, no, this is this film's fault, is like the visuals of the film. You know, I think this film is a very ugly looking film.
See, this is where I want to come in, because yes, there's definitely a lot of like pacing and editing issues that I can fully put down to studio interference. But there is other scenes in this movie that are just plain bad, no matter how the way you look at it. All of the quips in this film are bad.
Oh, many quips. So many quips.
The visual design of a lot of stuff, before you even get to like color grading and stuff, just like the actual design of our main villain is awful.
Yeah. I have in my notes here, he looks like a butler knight in Game of Thrones.
See, what he looks like to me is he looks like a mini-boss that you would encounter in a generic fantasy game. Like, he's not even the big bad major boss, he's like one of the higher level henchmen that you encounter several times throughout the game.
Which is literally what he is in the context of this film as well. We just never meet his boss.
They mentioned his boss's name one time, and it's like a line they forgot to cut out.
Yeah. Yeah. Isn't it? For real. Is this how you first came to this film, Kyle? Is this your first time watching it?
Yes, until we get to Black Adam, all of these will be my first time seeing the film.
Right,
so
wonderful.
Strap in.
Wonderful. So I saw this in theatres. I saw it actually after a local cinema had just been renovated and they'd put in big recliner chairs.
Oh, very nice.
And for some reason, my friends decided that we're going to go in the front row.
That's a bad idea. Never go in the front row.
So I think the thought was it's recliner seats, and because we'll be lying flat out, it won't be so strenuous in the neck.
Uh-huh.
Not entirely wrong, mind you, because we were fairly central. I don't believe all seats behind us were renovated to be recliners. It was like the first 3 rows or something, right? I don't remember. I remember the seated experience was probably the most comfortable part of the day. The film was certainly uncomfortable. But obviously at the time we didn't know about this other cut, so you just judged it for what it was. And one of the first things I did notice about this film when I saw it though, Kyle, was the fact that we had good old Danny Elfman returning to score this piece.
It's very noticeable.
It is very noticeable, isn't it? We get some of the Tim Burton Batman tunes.
Yeah.
For Ben Affleck, which feels like it may be a nice tribute, but now just feels hollow and cynical.
It's not as cynical as the Superman theme.
Yeah, it isn't as cynical as the Superman theme. But I think it's just all round just an attempt to evoke nostalgia of critically acclaimed days.
Well, yeah. Oh, God.
I love Danny Elfman, by the way. It's just...
Yeah, Danny Elfman's great. Yeah.
It's definitely a studio choice, you know?
There is a lot about this that feels like the studio going, can you make us one that feels more like a Marvel movie, please?
Yeah, we've even got the director in.
Yeah. I mean, that's the big one, but there's a lot of like, well, the Marvel movies have quips, so please add quips even where they don't make any sense. I think the best way to go through this might be to go through it character by character.
Well, before we do that, I would just like to ask you a question.
Okay, yeah.
Are we in this film, Kyle?
Are we in this film?
I think we are 2 of the first characters in the film.
Okay, present your case.
There's 2 little annoying twerps walking up to Superman saying, could you answer some questions for our podcast?
Are we the annoying twerps?
Is that
what you're saying?
I think we might be. I think that was like an indictment on asking creatives complicated questions about why they do what they do. Because they're quite existential.
You know what? I honestly, I wasn't paying attention to what they were talking about because I was too busy staring at Henry Cavill's face. Listen, for years now, I've heard about Mustache Gate, right?
Yeah.
I've always seen screenshots, and I'm like, oh well, maybe it doesn't look that bad. But seeing it in motion, or rather in lack of motion, it's so weird. It's so bizarre to see.
It's such a wonderful beard he had for Mission Impossible.
Yeah, I guess we should explain if people don't understand, because, Never know when people are listening and all that. During the reshoots of this film, Henry Cavill grew a mustache for Mission Impossible. Was it Ghost Protocol? Fallout? One of those ones.
Fallout, yeah.
He grew a mustache, and the studio wouldn't let him shave it, so they CGI'd out his mustache for a large, expensive amount of money, and it looks bizarre.
Yeah, they said, like, what if we pay to give you a very nice-looking beard for your film? And then they said, no, we want his real beard, and you will have to CGI out his face. I would love to see pictures of him behind the scenes with a beard. I don't think I've seen any. It's just such a weird quirk of studio systems, right? Absolutely it is. You know, he filmed all the principal photography without it. It really sucks. Like, even if they had to do reshoots under normal circumstances, what would they have done? Because the studio wanted reshoots. Yeah. I think this always would have happened, regardless of who the director was. Oh, absolutely would have. I'm not blaming Joss Whedon for this one. It's just so distracting. Yeah. It's very strange. Because it's the first thing you see in the movie. It almost felt like the Hollywood industry was out to get Warner Brothers. We're going to ruin your franchises. I mean, maybe there's a part of that. I don't know. Nah, that's just tinfoil hat speak. Well, if you want to go through this character by character, why don't we start with Superman whilst we're on him? I mean, after this, he doesn't show up until about an hour and a half into the 2-hour movie, so... Well, so here's what something here. Something I remember about the lead up to Justice League is they tried to hide Superman from the marketing. Yeah, I do remember this, and everyone was... Why are you doing this? We all know Superman's going to be in the Justice League movie. There are some wonderful Alex Ross-esque posters for this film. Alex Ross is a comic artist, right? And he's, he's quite famous. And for Justice League, they got, I think it was him they commissioned, or they got someone to emulate. I think it really was him, to make a poster for the film. And it's all the Justice League standing around for the poster. But Superman's not there. And then when the film came out and he was in it and no one was seeing the movie, they scrambled to put out a new poster that's supposed to be the same kind of poster, but they've had Superman in it, and it just doesn't look as good. It's just not as good at all. It actually looks better when Superman's not on the poster, because it looks like he's just been hardly rushed onto it. I mean, the reason I want to save Superman for later is because his place in this movie is very weird. Yeah, it is. But it doesn't really come to fruition until the end of the movie, because the first 2/3 of this movie are kind of, oh, what are we going to do now that Superman is dead? We've got to assemble all these heroes to try and do what Superman could do, but he's dead. Now there's people coming because Superman is dead. And then they're like, well, I guess we'll just bring Superman back to life and that'll solve all our problems. True. Well, okay, why don't we just start with our opening hero then? Let's start with Batman, shall we? Batman on a set, a roof. They were trying to make it look like classic Gotham, and it's very weird. With the guy from Mindhunter, a show I've never watched, but I was very aware that was him at the time. It's not just the Danny Elfman score. It's that they're trying to recreate the opening of like the animated series where Batman catches a couple of crooks on the roof. Yeah, that's also how the Tim Burton Batman movie opens. They do the misdirect where you think it's going to be Batman's parents getting shot in the alleyway, but this is modern day and Batman's here. Yeah, this version of Batman is nothing like the version in Batman v Superman. He's basically a new character. Yeah. It's really weird. It's because they heard all the dark and grungy tone, they panicked. You can get away with Batman being dark and grungy, though. It's just the fact that, like, I don't mind quips in these movies, right? There's some characters in this movie that when they make jokes, like Flash, I don't care because he's a quippy character, right? He's us, Kyle. He's the audience. He's the audience. Batman, though, specifically this Batman with all his little quips, it just feels so weird. Oh, it gets so much worse. And it doesn't... It's very clear to me that even in, like, principal photography,
Batfleck is not as invested in this film as he was in Batman v Superman. He's a bit checked out for the entire movie.
Yeah, I think at this point, he may have known internally that he was not going to be writing or directing or starring in his own standalone Batman movie.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you remember, a little while after this film came out, he went on the Jimmy Kimmel show, or Jimmy Fallon, I can't remember, and he announced officially he was done as Batman. Now, this was before Zack Snyder's Justice League would come out.
Uh-huh.
And I believe, if you include Zack Snyder's Justice League, he returned to play Batman 3 more times after saying he was done.
Yeah, I know one of them. Because one of them is in The Flash. I don't know what the other one is.
The other one is he filmed a scene for Aquaman 2.
Ah, okay.
But he is not in Aquaman 2
Right,
for reasons
they
we'll
cut
talk
him
about
out.
when we get
Yeah.
there. But he did film a scene for it. Like, I'm speaking purely about a behind-the-scenes perspective for Ben Affleck. For someone that's checked out, he kept showing up.
Listen, never turned down a paycheck. I respect him for that at least.
I mean, arguably, this really impacted his mental health, these films, though. He was going through a hell of a time. Remember the sad Batfleck meme and everything? And everyone's just getting awful
I
Batman.
remember.
I mean, I happen to think he's one of the best Batmans we've ever had.
I think he's not nearly as good in this as he was in Batman v Superman.
Yeah, but I still
I
enjoy...
can't believe I'm praising Batman v Superman. This is what this movie has reduced me to.
See, this is where all my perspective comes from. It comes from being at the end of the rainbow, Kyle. I've got you're getting your rose tinted glasses early.
But yeah, just everything to do with Batman in this film is so weird. Obviously, there's all the quips. There's his complete 180 on Superman, where the entire Batman Superman is like, oh, I hate Superman, I've got to kill Superman. And then in this movie, it's like, I love Superman, we're all screwed without Superman here.
That turn happens before the end of BVS, when he's at Clark's funeral.
I guess it's the Martha thing, right? But it just feels very sudden.
I mean, again, maybe it is 10, almost 8 years or whatever.
Even if you accept the fact that he's accepted Superman, the idea that he jumps straight to Frankenstein resurrection of Superman is quite severe.
Well, he doesn't just jump to it. He's the whole goal is to assemble the Justice League as
soon as he gets the power to resurrect Superman, he's like, well, we have to do this. He's the one pushing for it.
Well, yes, but his whole thing is we need to assemble a team of people that are capable of being some sort of equal to what Superman could do by himself.
He assembles a team so that they can stand on a cliff while he jumps in to die for no reason.
No. They go to the second abandoned island between Gotham and Metropolis we've seen in this DC universe, Kyle. And they get their ass
the
handed
underground
to
tunnel network island.
Yes, that's deserted. Just like the Doomsday Island.
Yep.
And they lose horrifically. And then that is when Cyborg goes away and brings back the mother box. And then he has an idea that says, well, we just lost horrifically. What if we could just bring back Superman? But it isn't his first go-to. He isn't like becoming some mad scientist for the past year or however long it's been since Clark Kent died. He's been trying to find some sort of counterweight to the hole that Superman's death created, and he's just accepted that he can't make one. Like, it's impossible. You can't match Superman, at least with the resources available to Batman. So if this key has appeared to him that might bring him back, why not, if you're already dedicated to creating something as powerful as him? But then, well, we can just have the real thing. I really don't think the 180 snap to bringing back Superman is as drastic as everyone thinks. I think like he makes clear steps to just bring something equal to him, can't, and then has the ability to bring him back. I think it's all, even in the Justice League, like I don't really think it's that big of an issue, even if Zack Snyder's one gives you 2 hours of ground.
I don't know. From my perspective, the whole bringing back Superman thing comes completely out of nowhere. Because you say they lost badly in the sewers. I don't think they lost that badly.
Well, they almost died. And it clearly also is that they're not really a good team. Is kind of the implication I get.
Yeah, so the lesson of that should be, in a good movie, that they learn to work together as a team. But that's not the lesson of this movie. The lesson is, we need Superman, and he can come in and fix everything for us.
Yep.
It's a bad movie, Nathan.
No, I mean, listen, it's not even like the film is like it has sort of like hypocritical thinking, because when we get to the end and Superman shows up, I know we'll get there, like, he does just do everything by himself, you know?
Yeah, exactly. It's bizarre.
It is bizarre, but I don't think it sort of goes against the film's own premise. The film does put before
the film's premise is that Superman is great and everyone else sucks. I guess it is.
like
I guess that is the premise of the film.
And the film follows through with that promise. You know, the film doesn't misdirect you at all. The film tells you, yo, Superman will fix this. And he does. And by the way, I am trying really hard to not do comparisons to the other version. This is me just talking about the film that we have before us today.
Okay, well, our next hero is Wonder Woman, who is just fine in this movie, I guess. I don't have nearly as much problems with the portrayal of Wonder Woman that I do with Batman.
Yeah, Gal Gadot plays a fairly consistent Wonder Woman before we get to 1984.
That's when she goes off the rails, is it?
It's just a bad movie. Maybe she's fairly consistent in it and I just can't remember. It's just a bad movie, though.
She has some definite, like, pushing her acting abilities to the limits moments in this movie as well, though.
Yeah.
Like, there's a part where she's supposed to be getting into a fight with Bruce, and it's like, oh, she is struggling with the acting in this part. Is
that when he invokes Steve Trevor that we spoke about last week?
Yes.
Yeah, I was having lunch.
Yeah, Nathan bailed 2/3 of the way through this movie to go have lunch.
No, I didn't bail, ladies and gentlemen. I was diligently taking notes and then decided, I'm hungry, this film isn't that good. I've seen it early. I saw it in like November last year anyway. I was just looking for something to watch, and it was an easier to watch than Zack Snyder's 4-hour version. And I thought, well, when am I realistically ever going to watch this film again? I just put it on. And then when I was watching it this time, I was like, oh, this is too fresh in my mind to sit through this slog. Because I didn't feel the need to really watch it as diligently the second half, you know? So by about the Superman resurrection scene, I thought about going downstairs and making some lunch.
There is like a weird like attempt in arc in this for Wonder Woman where Bruce is trying to push her to be like the leader of the team, but she doesn't want to be the leader of the team. And then in the end, they just resolve that she's not going to be the leader of the team.
Kind of. I think he wants a partner. There's lots of shipping that goes on between this Bruce Wayne and this Diana Prince.
There is a lot of weird dialogue, specifically from Alfred, where he's like, oh, it's about time someone had a date down in this cave, and stuff like that. Like, it's very strange.
There is romantic undertones between those two characters here.
I guess they don't have any chemistry, though, at least on screen.
At least on screen. I think that's probably because Gal Gadot can't emote, particularly. And
she can't emote, and Ben Affleck doesn't care.
Well, I think it's more to do with the fact that Bruce Wayne as a character might not... He's like too guarded, you know? He isn't letting his guard down.
Uh-huh.
He's too, this is no time for softness, we're at war, you know?
I forgot to mention my favourite scene, which is when Batman bursts a Bugman and he bursts into 3 cubes on the wall for some reason.
Oh, yeah. Well, in my notes, I was like, when every other parademon dies throughout the rest of this film, do they all become box art?
It just seems very convenient, you know?
It is.
Like, is it coded in their DNA? Do they ever even explain why that happened?
No.
Is it even necessary to the film since he sees the boxes again when he goes to talk to Aquaman?
No, I suppose it's not, but you got to have a runtime. You got to have an introduction scene of Batman in Gotham.
Because he already knows enough about the parademons to know that they're attracted to fear, right? So it's not like he's ignorant to what's going on.
Well, when does he find out they're attracted to fear before that scene?
I have no idea.
Yeah,
but he uses it in that scene because he hangs the guy off of the.
How does he know that? How does he know the parademons in Gotham? How does he know it came here?
What does Batman know and what does Batman not know?
Batman knows everything. Very convenient that that alarm went off on like the burglar alarm that made it go crazy, and then throughout the rest of the movie they just use that exact same soundbite for that alarm. He doesn't make some Batman equivalent. He just uses that awful siren.
Yeah, he drives his car along and blasts it in that Russian village.
Yeah, we'll talk about the Russian village.
We'll talk about the Russian village. Who's our next superhero? Because not much to say about Wonder Woman. She's there. Like a lot of people who aren't Superman. She doesn't do much. When she's fighting
Stannis Baratheon, and Stannis Baratheon says, "Who are you?" She says she's a believer.
Yeah.
What
Stannis Baratheon, by the way, who wants to blow up the world and reduce us to the Dark Ages. That's his plan.
He wants to destroy international banking by blowing up the bank.
I thought he said he just wanted to reduce us to a pre-industrial technology level.
Yeah, no, he's meaning like society. Like if you shut down, international trade, we'll all become much more insular people. That's like what he's trying to achieve. Maybe the film doesn't really convey that well, but that is what he's trying to do.
Right. So it's a bomb. This bothered me. It's a bomb that can level 4 city blocks, and she just chucks it into the sky, and that's fine. That's enough distance that it won't blow up 4 city blocks.
And it's just a little cloud in the sky.
You know what? Coming from Wonder Woman, which has great action scenes, to this movie, and it just doesn't feel the same. There's something wrong with the action scenes in this movie.
Really shows you that Wonder Woman didn't have an iconic theme before before the BVS Wonder Woman theme, because all these Danny Elfman and John Williams reprisals themes, and then
they could have gone Wonder Woman. That would have been very funny.
Yeah, that would have went down great in the audience theaters, I'm sure. But yeah, so she's the only one that really gets a returning theme. Mm-hmm. Should we move on to Barry Allen?
To Brunch Allen.
Barry Brunch Allen. Ezra Miller doing a fine job here. He's what's Barry doing? He's doing bits on other innocents visiting prisons.
Yeah. Well, for this, I was thinking about Avengers, right? Because as I said, Avengers is like the template for this kind of movie. Yeah. And I was trying to figure out why Avengers works so well and this one doesn't.
Yeah.
And, okay, because I want to say Avengers 1 is also the 5th movie to come out in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, right?
My goodness, is it?
You've got Iron Man, Iron Man 2, Captain America, Thor, Hulk. Okay, it's the 6th movie. I forgot about Hulk, to be fair, because it always feels so separate.
Yeah, it does, doesn't it?
But, in terms of that, Avengers only has to introduce one character, really. It only has to introduce Hawkeye. Because, yes, he is in Thor, but that's more of a cameo than an actual character introduction.
Than a piece that, yeah, exactly, I would agree with you.
But the rest of the cast, they're all pre-established, so Thor can just show up and you're like, that's Thor, I know Thor.
Even the villain of the film is pre-established.
Even the villain, yeah. This film has to establish half of the main cast, which is a much taller order, and they're much more significant superheroes than Hawkeye, who's just a guy with a bow.
Yeah.
Like Cyborg, Flash, and
Aquaman.
They have very distinct backgrounds, and they're weird, and you have to explain what's going on with all of them. And I think Flash actually draws the shortest straw in that one, where they're just, oh, he's a guy who can go fast. And they mention that maybe he got struck by lightning. They do very little to establish Flash's backstory, really. They
do very little. I think they do more than they do with Cyborg. I think Cyborg really gets the short straw in this film. But I quite enjoy, honestly, this version of the Flash. I think this suit is a million miles better than the suit he goes on to get in his own film.
See, I don't like this suit.
I really like this suit, actually. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm a big stan of this suit.
It's got, the weird, wires across it and stuff.
It's Faraday cage. Really, it's a Faraday cage, Kyle. It's to keep all the electricity in so he doesn't spark someone by accident.
Okay. I guess Batman does say that. I'll grant you that.
There you go. See, and he talks about it's a ice skate. They put it on space shuttles, and he's a competitive ice skater. Which that's why people always think he runs badly. He's ice skating. He's ice skating really fast. He's skating through the Speed Force. That's what he's doing. You know those speed skaters. Uh-huh. That's what the Flash is doing. He's not really running in a traditional sense. He's
Okay,
going.
well, one, it's not working because he keeps tripping up, and two, it still looks stupid when he's doing it.
It doesn't bother me. That's just a creative thing, I suppose.
It just looks silly. My problem with Flash in this movie is I don't mind the character who's quippy, as I said. They just take it a step too far.
They just keep going.
They just keep going. Like brunch. What is brunch?
Yeah.
Nathan, this joke annoys me for many reasons. I want to talk about brunch. Can we
You
talk
want? Oh,
about
right.
brunch?
Okay, we're going to talk about brunch. Okay, I was just going to mention how the prison guard was the original Wally West and Superman.
Yes, yeah, very good.
Okay, let's go back to brunch.
So, this joke, it doesn't make sense to me because, Nathan, everybody knows what brunch is. It's breakfast for lunch. It's not that complicated.
But it's also usually a social outing, and he doesn't have any friends.
But then he has this whole thing about waiting in line for food. That's not how brunch works. Why are you talking about, Barry Allen? Brunch? You just go to a breakfast restaurant and you sit down. You don't wait in a line. What's this about lines?
Kyle, I don't know what Barry Allen's issue is with breakfast for lunch or an early lunch when it's still breakfast time. He's a man that's clearly got a lot of social anxiety and for some reason has no friends. He's probably shut-in related to the murder of his mother.
He lives in an abandoned building for some reason.
Yeah, and he's got all these high-tech computers and stuff despite his income basically
I assume he stole them?
he has no income. And
Yeah,
none of
his
this
dad's pestering him to get a real job or whatever.
None of this will be resolved until 2023's The Flash. It's so crazy. See, when I look at this now, it's so crazy looking at how like all the early components of this DCEU comes back in The Flash and how we basically have gone nowhere for 10 years.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, crazy stuff.
So I understand that a lot of the quips and stuff in the Avengers movies are ad-libbed on the set, usually, right?
It's more tightly written than you might thought. Sometimes they ad-lib stuff in rehearsals and then they're like, great, we're going to write that in the script and then we'll set it up properly. Worse films, when they say they ad-lib, it's literally they're ad-libbing when the camera's rolling and then they just decide what the funniest joke is and put it in the final cut. Ad-libbing's usually a much more strict process than I think a lot of people understand.
I get that. I'm saying this movie feels like the second option, where they're like, Ezra Miller, just say some stuff.
Yeah.
Just say some stuff to fill time, and we'll take whatever sounds funny.
Yeah, that's true. It does feel like they're just letting them run off there.
Because I have to assume that Snack Hole was not in the original script.
He's a big black hole, a void of food, and he gets into the car with that really expensive pizza. Because he's like, stop there, I'm in, do I get to keep your Batarang? Listen, I quite like the Batfleck Batarang, but that's quite a cool shot. I quite like it when he throws it. How did he know that was his power, by the way? Oh, I suppose he's seen the footage. He knows he's speeding.
See, my bigger question: how does he not know that's his power?
Well, he's doing it to like coax him out. He's doing it to get him to dodge it.
Yeah, but he comes into that conversation and he says, "I know you can do things. I just don't know what they are." Don't you?
I think like he means like he doesn't know the extent of his powers.
Okay, I guess.
And it's this film, by the way, will never show us the extent of his powers because this film treats him like a joke. He never really gets the moment to shine in this film at all. He is the audience insert from start to finish, and all he has ever really done is push some people and run away.
Well, see, he saves my favourite characters in the film, which is the Russian family. Love the Russian family.
Oh, see, my favourite characters was the apartment block that Superman.
Well, yeah, that's the thing, because they have, like, Flash has his moment of saving, and then, he can't be as good as Superman, though. So Superman flies in with an apartment building.
This film is, look how great Superman is, the movie, isn't it?
It really is. It's so weird.
You thought Man of Steel was pretentious and Jesus-like for what is it like when an alien comes to Earth?
Though, this film, even with all this Superman stuff, it has less Jesus-y stuff in it.
I know, but I would rather some sort of fake skin of, existential crisis than look how cool Superman is for 2 hours. He's going to save the day. He's going to fix everything. I think this film is just a lot less smart with its hero worship.
Yes, I think that's fair to say.
For audiences, I suppose it doesn't matter, it doesn't need to be smart, it's just, let's see the people in the funny costumes fight the bad guys.
Yeah, but so they establish that Flash, he doesn't like violence or something. And so he has a scene which I actually kind of like, where Batman just says, okay, go in and save people.
Save one person.
Save one person. I don't mind that scene.
Yeah, that's not a bad scene.
It's not a bad scene, but there's never, like, a resolution to it, really.
Yeah, where he, like, oh, now I know how to be a hero, I'll save everyone.
Because at the end battle, he just can fight now. Because the movie's happening.
Yeah, yeah. Jostice League is in full swing, he must be capable.
Well, but not capable enough to be better than Superman, of course.
No, not enough. Kyle. No one. It's more capable than Superman. That's abundantly clear in this film.
Cyborg. Let's talk about Cyborg.
Oh, I thought we were going to save him for last. I thought we were going to go to Aquaman.
Oh, we can do Aquaman.
Let's please, let's do Aquaman.
Let's do Aquaman. I think of all of them, the fact that we're doing this before Aquaman is the craziest one. Because you're establishing an entire other secret hidden culture.
You're establishing
on
this
Earth.
Film's version of, like, Wakanda or something like that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And like, because you have all the Amazons, and sure, they don't establish that they have a mother box, but I can imagine that they have one. That's fine.
Yeah.
But you're asking a second step to imagine there's a race of underwater water people that are just exist.
Have a box.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's pretty radical, isn't it?
Aquaman is real radical in this movie.
He is a surfer dude through and through, my guy. You know what? I love Jason Momoa. I think he's been a wonderful ambassador for the DC franchise. I think he's a tremendous, talented person. I think I have seen legitimate strides in his acting ability as he has progressed as the artist. And his ability to have really made Aquaman his own. A bit like Sam Jackson sort of changing Nick Fury. Mm-hmm. He has changed Aquaman. Entirely changed Aquaman as a perceived character. I think it's been a tremendous success. And
he's not just a punchline anymore. I'll grant you that.
He isn't just a Barnacle Boy and Mermaid Man, you know. It is quite strange that, like, he's like a urban myth in this Norwegian fishing village, and Batman shows up and there's some box art on the wall again. And
I guess Batman has been doing this for a month because he has a full beard.
Yeah, he's been out in the middle of nowhere for ages, yeah.
Even though he has planes, multiple planes.
Yep, you're right. You're right,
Why did
Kyle.
he need to take a horse out of this Norwegian fishing village?
You're right. I'm holding my tongue. So he's like, you know, I'll pay you $25,000 right now if you put me in touch with the Fishman. And he's speaking to Arthur Curry. And then he's like, you know, I don't want to speak to you, Bruce Wayne, you know, dress like a bat, you know?
Says it in full view of everyone. Everyone can hear what they're talking about.
Well, this is just some hillbilly town in Norway, Kyle. They don't have internet or shoes.
Okay.
No one can contact anyone here. And the film kind of forgets about him for a little while.
It really does. It's weird. He doesn't join the squad until an hour into the movie.
Yeah, so he then is going back and saving a fisherman on a sinking ship, Kyle. And somehow the closest inhabited place to this sinking ship is back in the bar with the box art.
Yep.
And he throws him down, and he's like, he's buying, get one for my friend here. And he notices he's got green slime in his hand, Kyle, because the fisherman was like, I wasn't hit by the waves, so I wasn't like silly. Something hit my ship. It was like the thunder, you know? And it was a boom tube, as we go on to know.
Does that mean that, like, that Atlantis is just off the coast of Norway?
Apparently, that's what that film would have you imply. Or not the place where the mother box is hidden is near Norway.
That's not in Atlantis. That's just some random place.
Well, I
guess the humans put their box in some random place.
Yeah,
so.
just in a hole. Yeah,
It's so funny when they cut to that because it's like, well, we're guarding ours we've got guards on it all the time, and then it cuts to the land of men, and they just dump it in a ditch in the forest.
Yeah, Oh, it's ridiculous, isn't it?
I love too that the movie never explains how Cyborg's dad got hold of that thing. It's just, I guess they found it in the woods
wasn't
somewhere.
dug very deep. I imagine any like archaeological dig looking for Viking technology would probably have found it eventually.
Yeah, but it would be nice to establish that, you know?
Yeah, I just didn't find it a reach. I didn't care. My belly was rumbling. So he gets the green sludge in his hand and he's like, oh, right, maybe you weren't taken down by, weirdness. Oh no, slaps forehead. Right below where you sunk is where the mother box house is. Or something.
Uh-huh.
And he arrives at the end of the fight and Mera is there. Character we don't know yet.
No, it's so weird.
Does she have an American accent or a British accent here?
You know what? I can't remember.
Right, okay. Keep a note of her accent, right? Because it changes.
And she puts them in a bubble even though they can both talk underwater because it was cheaper to film.
Yeah, exactly, right. This scene screams reshoot. I don't think it is though, which is the thing.
Really?
I think this scene is in Zack Snyder's Justice League. I
mean, I guess you need a scene to establish what the hell is going on. So.
Yeah. However, it's a much better scene. So anyway. I think also in the Aquaman movies, the ability to have them speak with all the water effects around them and having their hair float is very expensive.
Yeah, I'm sure it is. I
maybe
understand why they did it. It's
maybe
just
at this
very
point
silly.
they were out of money.
Because they had a very intense underwater action scene.
Yeah, exactly. Well, in this cut, they certainly didn't. When we get to that scene, and he's like, "You're the son of the Queen, and I knew the Queen before the wars, and whatever. My parents served in the war."
Mm-hmm.
And then he's like, "Okay, well, I'll join the Justice League, I suppose, with the dead Superman, right?" And he follows the ocean because he speaks to the fish into the flooded cave in Gotham City.
We hear a lot about how he can talk to fish.
Yeah, you can.
Batman is very insistent on this point.
You want to put some feelers out, Kyle? Batman treats Aquaman like the public did before the film came out.
Yes.
I think now we're in a post Jason Momoa Aquaman world. That joke might be something that will get lost to time. People will just be like, oh, it's just silly. He doesn't know how Aquaman works, clearly.
Yeah, because that was the punchline before, is that Aquaman is a guy who can talk to fish.
Exactly.
Although in this movie, Beyond, once he leaves the water, it doesn't matter at all that he's a water guy. He basically just becomes Thor.
Yeah, he is metahuman.
Yeah, he can jump high, he's got a big trident. He's just basically the same as Wonder Woman.
Yep, but a guy.
Yeah. Surfer
dude man. He's not even a trident, it's something else. He doesn't get his actual trident till the Aquaman movie. That's like a plot point. It's something else, and it doesn't matter. He arrives in the cave whilst Batman and co are trying to save the man from Terminator, Cyborg's dad.
Miles Dyson, yeah.
Miles Dyson. And the cave's flooding, that's why he gets there, and he throws his trident, not trident, into the ground and holds it like a "you shall not pass" against the water.
Mm-hmm.
And they all climb up the cave to safety.
Yeah, on the back of the bat crab, which is... Why do none of Batman's vehicles in this movie look like bats?
I like the bat crab, right? I quite like the bat crab. I think it's cool and inventive, Like, I don't think we've actually had bat-themed Batman equipment apart from the Batarang since George Clooney at this point. The tumbler, the Batwing, none of the Christopher Nolan stuff look like bats.
We should get back... The Batwing should look like a bat, goddammit.
It's so silly. It's so silly. I don't care about any of that. So we get to safety because Cyborg has said, "I'll take it from here, Alfred." And Alfred goes, "Do I know you?" Alfred doesn't know who Cyborg is, the man that took Diana out on a date, because he said it's been about time since someone had a date around here.
Because quips, Nathan, we need quips.
Because quips, indeed. And Aquaman's just like, I guess I'm part of the team now.
Yep, we're in, and I haven't got established chemistry with any of you, so... Yeah. But I'm here.
I'm here to die side by side with y'all. I tell you what, during that scene fighting Steppenwolf, I quite enjoyed the, at this point, very tired, but still visually nice, slow-mo, everyone stays still, but the fast one can still move around.
Mm-hmm.
And he like touches the sword and it moves back up into Wonder Woman's hand.
Isn't that the end fight?
No, that's when they're fighting in the tunnel. It's like this.
It? Okay, sure.
Yeah. Because the tunnel is obviously just a big. It's like a funnel going up. It's like the venting tower. That's what it is. And
I feel like it's in service of making Superman all powerful, but this movie definitely depowers Wonder Woman a lot compared to where she was in Batman v Superman.
Yeah, though I think they pay lip service to her being a threat because Steppenwolf's like not happy to see her.
I guess,
Even though he handedly just killed a bunch of them.
Yeah.
Because the
But
Queen...
she's stronger than an average Amazon, I guess.
We never spoke about this, actually, when...
No, we didn't.
When they steal the Amazonian mother box.
Well, we can combine this with a conversation about Steppenwolf in general. We already talked about his awful, awful design.
Yeah.
And also the CGI around him. Like, it's been said before, but he does look like a PS3 cutscene. It's... Like, his lips don't move properly. His
eyes
face
glisten,
doesn't move properly.
His eyes glisten.
It's just awful. And he talks constantly about his mother. And he wants to talk to Mother.
He is Norman Bates.
He is Norman Bates.
I've got this in my notes. Steppenwolf speaks about the boxes like they're Norman Bates.
He's just such an unintimidating villain all around.
So something I would like to bring up here is, I think I mentioned in our Suicide Squad episode how there was a bunch of Justice League kind of runway being put into that film.
Yeah, the Enchantress was supposed to be working for Steppenwolf.
Yeah, and she was supposed to be constructing a boom tube and being under the influence of the mother boxes.
Mm-hmm.
This all would make sense had maybe some of that stuff been introduced in the previous film, Suicide Squad. Because in this film, he's boom tubing around like it's nothing.
Yeah.
But,
it's just like a teleporter.
Yeah, but in Suicide Squad, it's like Enchantress is constructing the boom tube portal for him. Like, she is building a boom tube to usher in his arrival to Earth. And I
don't think this movie even establishes what a boom tube is. It's just like a big... It's just like a big it's like a vortex he's beaming down from his spaceship.
Yeah, and I thought it should sound more like a Mac blast, like a boom. Instead, it sounds like a laser pistol.
It looks like a really boring effect too. Everything to do with him looks like a video game, and I know
the hexagon cylinder.
It's just such not like a good video game, like a really generic video game.
Yeah, like Sergeant John Forge fought this guy.
Exactly.
Yeah. He's a perfect villain for Sergeant John Forge in some Halo Wars prequel.
But yeah, so he attacks the Amazons, and Themyscira suddenly looks way worse. It doesn't look nearly as magical.
I don't actually necessarily mind that. It's darker time scale. This isn't the glorious haven it used to be.
I mean, it's part of the color grading of the whole film. We've been playing some Halo 4 recently, and I described that game as looking like visual soup. That's this entire movie. Everything is just like soup, where nothing looks right. Everything looks weird.
Yeah. Everyone's turned up the redness in everyone's cheeks. Everyone's looking a little bit cherry, aren't they?
Yeah, and obviously that batsuit was never meant to be seen in this kind of lighting.
Oh, it gets so much worse in future films.
It just doesn't look right. A lot of their costumes just don't look right in this lighting. And I
think Aquaman looks the ugliest. My God.
Even if I didn't know that this movie was re-edited, because obviously I know that a lot of these shots have been recolor graded because they're supposed to look like a Snyder film, and they don't look like a Snyder film anymore.
Yeah, they don't.
I mean, I know Zack Snyder wanted to do it in black and white or whatever.
No, that's like just artist vanity. He was never going to do it in black and white. No studio would let him. You know, there is a black and white version.
He was just flexing at that point.
Yeah. Listen, we'll speak about Zack Snyder's Justice League for a long time when we get there. That'll be another Rise of Skywalker length episode of Name Not Included.
Oh,
but I have lots to say about that film. But yeah, this film looks not great at all.
No, it's very dodgy. But, I mean, you say the scene with the Amazons is alright. It's whatever, you know?
I mean, it's not great. Like, I think, so they show up, the boom tube is like shaking, and then, or the mother box is shaking, then the boom tube opens, Steppenwolf comes out, and they're like, we can stop him. We are the Amazons. We're all got our arrows ready. They all just get wiped out in seconds. The queen takes it, runs. All those Amazonians sacrifice
She's like,
themselves.
seal the door.
Yeah, and then, which is, it's a noble goal if it was going to hold him. But he just sort of cuts his way out like he's in sellotape.
Also, all of the minions can fly, and there's a hole in the roof.
And then...
Why are they aiming arrows at the box, by the way?
I think they think maybe something's going to come out of it. I don't think they really know how this works anymore.
But they were there the first time.
Yeah.
The Amazons don't age.
Yeah, but maybe they've not experienced a boom tube before. They think like the boom tube will open from the mother box.
I guess. Okay, sure.
Don't think about it.
That's what you want to hear.
That's what you want to hear. I quite like the bit where they're running away. See, after they get out of the temple that houses the mother box, and they're like wrapping it round rope and then firing an arrow to propel the mother box forward. The Steppenwolf's just taking out Amazonian horse riders one at a time, and the mother box always just slightly ahead of him the whole time. I quite like that stuff. That stuff's actually quite good. And then she fires an arrow at him, and he just dings it away with his hand, and it's just very generic.
That's when he has his big montage. It's like, the unity will be activated and you will all love me.
Yeah, why do you fight? You will be part of my army. It's
just so funny. I just can't take him seriously.
Yeah, it's a big shame because he looks like a butler.
I don't know where you're getting butler from. He doesn't give me butler vibes per se.
He just looks like some dude, Kyle.
He does look like some dude, yes.
He's just a big dude with Simpsons hands.
And big twisty horns.
Yeah, they're not even interesting horns either.
No.
Doesn't look like the Steppenwolf that we saw in Batman vs Superman. Oh, he wasn't in the theatrical cut,
He wasn't
was he?
in my cut.
He
No.
wasn't in your cut, right? Okay, you haven't seen him. But
I actually don't know anything about Steppenwolf. I don't know what his comic design is supposed to be. I assume it's not this.
You'll see all of what he's supposed to look like in Zack Snyder's Justice League. It looks amazing.
I don't know if that's what he's supposed to look like in the comics either, though.
I don't know. You know what?
I'm Googling it right now.
After 20 years of Marvel fandom, I think it's just too much to expect things to be one for one.
Oh, he's just like a dude in a horned helmet. He's not even like an alien dude.
Yeah.
He has a Riker mustache, or Riker beard.
We love Riker beards.
Riker beards are when things get good.
Yeah. Oh, I suppose so. Well, you ain't never getting a beard in this timeline.
Yeah, so Steppenwolf's plan is, it's the same as Zod. He wants to terraform Earth to become an apocalypse land.
Yeah, well, Zod wanted it for the rebirth of Krypton. Steppenwolf wants it to look like Apocalypse, which is his land that Darkseid rules.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, they mentioned Darkseid once in this movie, and it's like a mistake.
Yeah, or it's to lead into Justice League Part 2, which was initially part of the plan.
Oh, I want to talk about this too. They tease Green Lantern in this movie in some sort of ballsy move.
They teased the Green Lantern core. That would never be the Green Lantern we ever got.
I know, because he dies, but it's just, there's a couple of key people missing from this version of the Justice League. In fact, usually I would say Cyborg isn't a Justice League guy. He's normally more of a Teen Titans guy.
Yeah, he's here for tick that diversity box. That's why he's here. At least in this cut.
The two that are missing, the big one is Green Lantern, right? That's normally there's a Green Lantern in the Justice League. And the other one is Green Arrow. I understand why they didn't do Green Arrow, because he's basically just Hawkeye.
I thought you were going to say Martian Manhunter. Why Green Arrow?
Green Arrow's usually on the Justice League, I think. Martian Manhunter, yes, I'll grant you that. I forgot that he's not in this movie at all. That's only in the Snyder Cut, isn't it?
Yeah, he's only in the Snyder Cut, yeah.
Like, the general character doesn't even show up in this movie.
Nope.
You know what was missing from this movie too? Perry White.
God, I missed him.
I miss Perry White too.
Instead
we get random sexist co-worker of
yeah.
Lois Lane.
Who's your source? Who's your source, doll? Yeah, I hate that scene, by the way. It's so cringy. I'm not a fan of it. I'm surprised. she's like miss a payment in the bank to take away money. You've lived there all your adult life. You had a son, you had a husband. I thought they ran a fairly successful farm. That was always the implication I got, how they were able to make payments in the first place. Surely that house is bought and paid for 20 years ago at this point.
I would have thought so.
Like,
I don't mind that. I don't mind the conversation between her and Lois. I think that part of it's fine.
oh no, because then they make the thirsty comment.
I forgot about that.
No, it's a quip, Kyle. It's a quip. We don't need it.
It's a quip. Yeah, I mean, it's only there so we can, like, hey, remember Lois Lane? She's still around, so we can bring her back later.
Yeah, it's silly. It's very silly. Bring out the big guns, Alfred, later on. Oh yeah, it's the redhead from a few scenes ago. It's the same as that, like, the Batman rooftop scene. It's like, you need these introduction scenes. You need to set these characters up for the rest of the film, even though we're not setting them up with previous films in some cases.
This is a general trope, which I hate in all media, is when someone's only tether to being a good guy is, like, a woman. This is a trope in a lot of, like, superhero movies, and they do it just completely unironically in this movie. It's like Superman's only tether to humanity is his girlfriend Lois Lane, or I guess fiancée now.
And his mother.
And his mother, I guess. But mainly Lois Lane.
Not another woman.
Yeah. Where if these two weren't around, he would just destroy the planet, basically. And it's like, come on. Can he have motivations beyond his girlfriend?
I think there's supposed to be personal connections that he has with the world.
You remember when he throws it back at Batman? Do you bleed, Batman? Of course Batman bleeds. That's Batman's whole point.
Well, Kyle, let's talk about the final character before we get to Superman, of course. Let's talk about Victor Stone.
And now we're done talking about Cyborg.
No, I mean, listen, it's such a shame, because I love Ray Fisher. I think he's a wonderful actor.
He's very good in this movie for the 5 seconds he's in it.
The implication in this film, to me, I really feel like Cyborg got the short end of the straw for this film, because that is a character that can and does in another film have real depth, and it felt like here he was in the film just because it's more visually interesting than having a lineup of boring white people everywhere, because he does nothing in this film. And when you see the stuff that's Ray Fisher, the actor, wonderful talented actor, to put up with behind the scenes from both creatives, Joss Whedon. We haven't really spoken about the controversy of the reshoots, but my goodness, it feels like after Zack Snyder left, a lot of things went wrong behind the scenes this film.
I guess Joss Whedon, he's a bit of a cancelled figure.
He's a bit of a cancelled figure in these times that we live in.
And they have that classic Joss Whedon joke where Flash lands on Wonder Woman's boobs and
he's the nerd.
It's the exact same joke as in Age of Ultron.
Yep. But in the case of Ray Fisher, apparently he was told to just say a bunch of semi-racist stereotype catchphrases for the reshoots, and all trace of depth was just erased. He became the literal incarnation of a token black guy for the Justice League. And he is
they try. There's like remnants of a character arc in there.
I don't think any of that does get anything to do with the final product. I think that's all just echoes from the version that we will get to.
There's some stuff which, to be fair, in my opinion, is also very generic of that I'm a monster now and I don't know how to trust myself and all that. And then there's also like a random scene where Aquaman doesn't trust him for no reason, even though he's been nothing but helpful the entire movie.
I think it's because like he knows his armor can take over.
That does happen sometimes, and it's very poorly explained when he just shoots Superman because he detects a threat or something.
Yeah, it's like my mother box core inside me.
I hate this design of Cyborg, by the way. It just looks like nothing.
I've always thought Cyborg kind of looks a little bit like nothing, I'll be honest with you, Kel.
If you make a Cyborg that looks more like a Terminator or something at least, this is just like a bunch of like cubes and stuff.
At the end of the film, you see like him trying on new skins.
Mm-hmm.
He like gets like one that looks a little bit Iron Man like, and you're like, oh, he's gonna be Iron Man, or it's more of like Teen Titans look, I suppose, really, with the big.
Yeah, it looks better. I'll say that. But it's nanobots is what it is.
Such a CG
nanobots
look.
Are so boring.
Yeah. The last time nanobots were interesting was in Agent Cody Banks.
But yeah, as soon as Iron Man gets the nanobots, he looks boring, and Cyborg in this movie, it's all nanobots, and it's just, I don't care. It may as well be magic.
It is an absolute shame. So that's us done speaking about Cyborg now. He helps separate the mother boxes at the end of the film.
And his toes hurt, Nathan.
I don't understand the physics of that, Kyle. It's crazy.
I think that scene might be a reshoot. I don't know.
Honestly, I can't remember.
The toes hurt thing, that has to be a reshoot. Especially because Superman has a horrible CGI face. So.
Yeah. Well, it wasn't all one shot. You can take shots from two different cuts. Yeah, absolutely. That's a reshoot. I apologise. Just a little note there. Clearly a reshoot. Right. Well, let's talk about the elephant in the film.
The Russian family.
No, Kel, not the Russian family.
We have to talk about the Russian family, Nathan. My favourite characters. I have to know if they'll survive Stephanos' attack.
Fine, Kel. Let's talk about the Russian family. There's a Russian family in this film, Kyle, and their place of living looked just as bad before Steppenwolf got there and equally deserted. No one lives there. They live within, eyeshot of the nuclear power plant the same way Charlie
the abandoned
Bucket
nuclear power plant, I guess.
They live
it looks like they live in Chernobyl.
Yeah, it does, right? That's what it's supposed to evoke. But they live as close to that power plant as Charlie Bucket lived from Willy Wonka's Chocolate Factory in the Tim Burton remake. Just at the bottom of the hill, constantly looking up at it.
Isn't it important that we feel connected to the civilians on the ground?
It's because of everyone that died in the previous films. They're trying to be like, oh, we do care about the civilian cost. No, don't. I don't care. I don't care.
I'm being facetious. Obviously, this element of the film is pointless and you could cut it entirely and would change nothing. It's so bizarre.
There is a version of this where it is cool.
You know what annoys me the most is we see the little girl, she grabs some bug spray. And that's your setup for a comical moment where she uses the bug spray to defeat one of the parademons. And she never uses the bug spray, Nathan. What was the point of the bug spray?
Too many quips. The reason it's in there, Kyle, is so that you can go, oh yeah, look, we're rooting for her. Look at her. She's trying to help protect her family. It's just complete. It's just complete little smirk.
If you're going to do that, then there should be a scene where, a parademon comes up when Flash is pushing the car. Because I guess Flash is strong enough to push a car, ?
At the speed he's going at, maybe?
That makes him stronger?
Yeah, why not? In the speed force, he can manipulate entire people.
There should be a scene where he's pushing the car, and then she pulls out the bug spray and she sprays one of the demons, and Flash goes, "Thanks, kids." Set up and pay off like a joke, Nathan.
Yeah, they just left that joke on the floor.
So sorry. What was the elephant you were talking about?
Oh, Superman.
You know what? The scene where they all fight Superman is just kind of dumb fun. That's nice.
Yeah, I'm fine with it. I don't really care. I'm fine with it.
Wonder Woman calls him Kal-El for some reason.
He's trying to connect with who he really is. I really know you. I'm not just some hack here that knows you as the human that you pretended to be. I know you as
But isn't
Kal-El.
the whole point of Superman that Clark is the real him?
He can have two names, dual identity.
Lois doesn't call him Kal-El. Lois calls him Clark.
That's because she knows him as Clark.
She shouts Clark in front of a bunch of cops.
Yeah.
in the middle of Metropolis.
I like that bit where bringing the big guns and Lois gets out of the car and you can see Jeremy Irons on a Skype screen behind her. In the language of the scene, it's supposed to be Alfred was the one driving the car, but it just looks like he's just there, like he's in his house. He's not actually out he's not on set at all. Yeah, and then Batman. By the way, they leave that mother box just there on that car.
You want to go grab that? Maybe one of you who have super speed could go grab that real quick.
Earlier on, Cyborg literally left them to possibly drown to go get the mother box. And now he's like, oh, it's fine. We've Superman now.
And Flash
who cares?
Is did he just bail? Waka waka.
I think that what may have helped them more is if they just expected Superman to be fine, but they already knew he was going to possibly be a little bit Pet Cemetery.
Yeah, they're talking about Pet Cemetery. Yeah.
So because they knew that was a risk, maybe they would want to have secured the mother box a little bit faster. If they thought everything was going to be fine, then I suppose, okay, you can leave it. Like, who cares? Superman's here now.
But
Superman's here.
at the very least, seeing Superman take them all on, and obviously there's the actually good little shot where which is not a reshoot because he doesn't have a horrible CGI face, where he sees Flash moving really fast. That's a cool little moment.
That is a cool little moment, and that's the bit in the cinema where everyone goes, ha 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 ha.
And then underneath it, for some reason, you hear da, 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 da. But it's like a slightly evil version because this is Dark Superman.
Dark Superman. Yeah, it's edgy. I love it, Kyle. I love it.
Is it weird that they never fixed that war memorial? I feel like that's kind of weird.
No, because you get that bit in the BVS where if you seek his monument, look around you.
They didn't even fix the monument of the people who died in Metropolis. That's what that monument was.
Well, the name, but yeah, I suppose so. Maybe they built another one somewhere.
If I was the family of those people, I would be quite offended, quite frankly.
Maybe they built another bit somewhere else with all the names, but they wanted to leave this remnant, this ruin with the names that were left, and with the broken Superman statue that was there. Because remember, the guy like climbs up and starts spray painting at False God and stuff. Looks like a completely different set, by the way.
Was Martha foreclosing on that house even though Clark's stuff was still in it? Because he comes out with a shirt and stuff.
Yeah, she was. I don't think she'd been given her move-out date yet. It was just like end of the month, you need to be out. So, yeah, she's, Clark's like, oh, hello, Amy Adams. Hello, Lois Lane. Let us go.
And he says that coming back to life was itchy.
Itchy, yeah, it was itchy. I mean, we don't know what it's like. Maybe it is itchy.
I guess so.
Who are we to say?
He gets over the being a zombie thing pretty quickly.
Yeah, I mean, the Kryptonians' bodies apparently don't decompose in Earth's atmosphere.
Even though he was buried, so I don't know.
Yeah. I wonder what the Earth moving was in the Batman vs Superman. What was that?
It was the stasis field or whatever. I'm sure Batman has a line about there being like a stasis field around his body or something.
No, there's nothing. There's nothing. It's silly.
They make good use of that crashed Kryptonian ship, though. Let me tell you.
Oh yeah, don't they? The Lex Luthor water. Yeah, absolutely.
And they just let any old scientist work on there because Miles Dyson is also working on there, right? Star Labs.
Yeah.
It's like, well, there would be another mad scientist who works on this ship, surely.
Oh, he wasn't a mad scientist. He was a grief-stricken scientist.
Shouldn't the defenses of the ship have attacked the Justice League?
No, they're offline now.
Oh, okay. Fine.
They're after all the Doomsday fiasco, because it would have attacked the SWAT men when they went to arrest Lex Luthor as well. Like, we just got there's nothing there.
Artie the janitor disabled them.
Yeah, the real hero of the film. Yeah, so Superman's back, Kyle, and he goes and he gets his suit, and it's his blue suit. Looks like the yellow is more of a silver than it was.
It just looks like it's been recolored post process.
Yeah. Well, so the thing is, right? Zack Snyder always knew that he wanted the black and white suit, but the studio wouldn't let him shoot with a black and white suit.
Right. Okay.
So he had to film with a color suit, but one with the colors tweaked in such a way that it could be put into black and white in post production and look good as black and white.
I see. Okay.
So they are using a suit that's color graded differently from the Batman vs Superman and Man of Steel suit because it was always meant to be post converted into black and white, but they never done it for this film, so it looks slightly off.
I mean, it doesn't look it looks less off than his face, so
it
swings around about.
Yeah, but that was just a happy accident and the suit comes off looking better.
So yeah, they go to Russia and there's big evil tendrils now. And Batman drops the Justice League off on a cliff to go do a thing.
On his Batwheel, his troop carrier.
On his Batwheel. Can you explain to me what the hell was going on there? What was Batman's plan? What was he doing?
He was dropping them off so that they could be support, because he didn't want to get anyone else killed, because he blames himself for the death of Superman, but he doesn't think Mr. are going to help out. And he's just like...
But that was the whole point of assembling a team!
In case he fails, they need to step up to the plate.
It just seems a bit stupid, is what I'm saying.
Just seems a bit... I mean, fair enough. Fair enough, Kyle.
Because once again, the lesson of the movie should be learn to teamwork. This should be what Batman does the first time they go out in the sewers. He says, you guys stay behind, I'll handle this. Not the second time. The second time, they should have learned how to work as a team.
Yeah.
Like a movie.
Like a film. I agree.
But no, Batman goes in, and his plan is to attract all the bugs away from the city. Question mark, question mark, question mark. What's he going to do when all the bugs are attacking him? It's just a suicide play.
It's so Gal and the gang can sneak in.
Yeah, but what's going to happen there is 600 parademons are going to come up and they're going to tear the Batmobile to shreds and they're going to murder Batman and then they're going to fly back and nothing's going to be different.
He's using his miniguns, Kyle. It's all fine.
And it's doing nothing.
It's killing a bunch of them, just not nearly enough. Because they're a swarm.
Okay. I know. I understand that it's very hard to make Batman look cool when Batman has no superpowers in the Justice League. But other pieces of media have managed this. You can still make Batman look cool in the Justice League. He just has to fight smart, you know?
In the live-action medium, it's just very difficult to consider that he is fighting space aliens when, in the last incarnation of Batman, he was just fighting terrorists in Gotham.
Yeah.
You know? It is one of those moments where, like, how did we get here? Remember what Alfred said
goggles,
about that's a Zach Snyderism. He loves his superheroes to have goggles. He's the same Watchmen. A lot of goggles in Watchmen.
They should have at least made the goggle lenses white so it looked like a classic Batman suit, you know?
I'm not fussed about that, to be honest with you. So we go in and we go to fight Steppenwolf, Kyle. Mm-hmm. What happens?
They just sort of punch each other for about 10 minutes and nothing really changes.
They all take
until
turns
Superman shows up.
They all take turns getting beat up. And then Superman shows up and he says something how he doesn't like bullies.
It's like the opposite of, you know, in the classic fight scene joke where there's like the goons come one at a time. It's like the Justice League are doing that this time. They just refuse to attack him together. They just take turns. They
just stand there awkwardly until one gets their ass beaten and the other one has a go.
Or they conveniently disappear for 15 minutes. And they're like, what have you been up to, Aquaman? I guess you're back now.
Yeah, at this point, Batman becomes irrelevant.
He really does. He stands up on a ledge and grabs an alien gun and starts shooting.
Yeah. Superman, though, shows up and says not impressed, you know, and they don't like bullying.
Really, if they wanted to make this proper, they should have had, instead of Cyborg being the one who can disable the mother boxes, have Batman have invented a device that'll do it, and then you can have Batman have something to do.
Then Cyborg would have even less to do.
Cyborg is a puncher. He can go punch and kick and blow things up. Cyborg is immensely powerful. Cyborg in this film is way more powerful than any other version of Cyborg has ever been.
We have enough punching and kicking going on.
Well, he has laser hands. He can go and blast a bunch of stuff.
He has the Team Iron Man in terms of visuals and power.
Yes.
Lasers and jets in the feet.
Which apparently he couldn't do yesterday.
Yeah, apparently he couldn't do that yesterday. He just sit in his room and scroll through CCTV footage to find out why anything is happening at all. Mm-hmm. So Superman shows up, and as the film kind of sets up as a plot point, Superman will just solve everything. Everything's fine now. Superman's here, and Superman shows up, and the film's over. Really?
Well, it's weird. Like he punches up Steppenwolf for a bit, and then Batman's like, "You have to go save this." No, he hears the civilians running away and he's like, actually, I have to go and upstage Flash as well at this point, so let me just hold right there, Steppenwolf, let me go grab a building and I'll be back in a sec to kick your ass some more.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's all just very awkward. And then they do the thing where Steppenwolf is feeling fear, so his minions come up and because they detect fear on him now. Dun dun dun.
Even though they could just kill everyone, probably.
Yeah, but...
Maybe not Superman, but they could probably handily kill Steppenwolf and everyone.
They conveniently all leave.
Instead, they decide
because it's the end of the movie now.
Yeah, they decide to retreat. It's the end of the movie.
Even though they're, like, just sort of mindless monsters? Are they mindless monsters? What are they? They're like zombies. They're like rage zombies.
They're Borg drones.
Yeah, I guess. And they all retreat for reasons.
Yeah. They can retreat back to Darkseid because Darkseid needs to report into Darkseid. Darkseid's not going to be happy about this, let me tell you.
Except they don't say that in the movie.
Yeah, they don't say that in the movie.
Because the movie cannot wait to end.
The movie can't wait to end. The audience can't wait. I can't wait.
But we do get some narration from Lois Lane where she talks about hope or whatever, and they do the classic Superman shot where he opens up the shirt.
And
he explains to his co-workers that went to his funeral why he's still alive.
Bruce Wayne bought the bank.
Bruce Wayne bought the bank. Barry has a job now because I guess that was the lesson he learned, is he's going to become a cop, ?
He's going to work in a crime lab, which is what the character does.
Yeah, but did he learn that in the movie, that he has to take responsibility and get a job? I don't think he did.
No, he didn't learn anything. He learned how to work as part of a team. So he knows what brunch is now.
He knows what brunch is, because he has to buy everyone brunch.
If he loses the race with Superman.
And he doesn't know which way the Pacific Ocean is.
Which, it's a cloudy day, you can't see the sun. You're, I think, like somewhere, you could still be in Russia.
I guess so. To be fair, thinking about it right now, I can tell you which way the coast is. So, fair enough.
See, I can, Kyle, because I'm a smart cookie.
Right.
You're to my right, Kyle. That's where you are.
Okay, I'll take your word for it.
I believe Flash was slightly faster than them.
We should establish too, Superman is also, along with Batman, Superman, once he finally comes back, is like classic, like smiley, jokey Superman.
Yeah, golden age of heroes.
He's nothing like, I guess death really changed his perspective on things.
Yeah, it did. He got a trench coat.
Because he comes back and he's all like, I really like being alive. Ha 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 ha.
The DCEU... Oh no, he says, I take it back, I wish I were dead. Remember that?
Oh, that's true, yeah.
The DCEU never will go to explain how he's alive again. You never see him work another shift in the Daily Planet, I'll tell you that.
When is his next appearance? Is it Black Adam?
If you remove Zack Snyder's Justice League from the mix, we do not see him again until Black Adam, yeah. It's quite amazing.
No, doesn't he have a cameo in Shazam? But you don't see his face.
The character of Superman does, but it's not Henry Cavill. Yeah.
Right, okay.
It's a headless cameo because a lot of behind the scenes Henry Cavill may or may not be very difficult to work with. Yeah.
But yeah, of course we get our second post-credit scene where Lex Luthor talks to Deathstroke. And you're like, who's Deathstroke? And we're just supposed to know who Deathstroke... I guess it's just like Deathstroke's a cool visual.
So at this point in time, it was known that the Batman solo movie that Ben Affleck was doing was Deathstroke was going to be the baddie of it.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, at the time this was known, there was some stunt... Like, remember when Deadpool first got announced and Fox didn't want to make it and then people leaked out some test footage of it and that's what made it wildly popular?
Mm-hmm.
So that's some Ben Affleck tweeted out before Justice League came out, some Deathstroke test footage of him like running around on top of cars. I think it's because Daredevil was out at the time, and that was all the hot stuff, and that's Deathstroke was going to be the villain of the Batman movie.
What a weird pick. I mean, don't get me wrong, I think Deathstroke is a fine character, but for a solo Batman movie to make Deathstroke your main villain...
I think he wanted like a martial arts equal, like it was going to be a very physical, beat-em-up, rock'em sock'em robots Batman movie. And from all reports, by the way, of this script we've never read, everyone that has read it, like Hollywood inserts, say it was great. A lot of people really talk up this film, and for all the bad luck Warner Brothers have, I wish we got to see it,
I tend to think that Deathstroke works better as like a minion of another villain, as opposed to a villain of his own right.
It did look like he was going to end up being a minion of Lex Luthor to some degree, didn't it?
I guess. Why is Lex Luthor talking to Deathstroke? I don't know.
Because they want to make an Injustice League, Kyle.
Why is he dressed up like classic Lex Luthor?
Because he's in a boat in the south of France.
And he's got like the tweed suit on, yeah. I still hate him as Lex Luthor, but
Well, Kyle, let me put you at ease.
He's never coming back again.
Never gonna see him again.
That does put me at ease, because I think this movie is the death of a lot of this, isn't it? Really. when you do your big team up movie and it's a big failure, I mean, did this do well financially?
I think it made it in the. Well, this is the box office mojo part of the podcast. I think
I know this movie is like one of the most expensive movies ever made, right? It's something ridiculous.
And they gave it another 70 million for Zack Snyder. He got an extra 70 million on top of this for his reshoots and just his like remastering and finishing all the effects. We can talk about that though when we get there.
Yeah. So when you do this, when you do your Avengers and it's a critical failure, forget about commercial for a second. Critically, this movie is universally panned.
Yeah.
Where do you go from there? That would normally be the sign to stop, but they didn't stop, did they?
This movie made $661 million worldwide,
and the budget was like $300 million, right?
Yeah, I think it eked out a small profit. I think Zack Snyder's Justice League might get counted differently. But I know that, I mean, just add 70 million on top of this if you want to include the Snyder
and that wasn't even released in theaters. That was a streaming release,
straight to HBO. But that was COVID. I actually think if COVID hadn't happened, we never would have got... got it.
That's potentially possible, yeah.
I think it's very possible. They needed content.
Anyway, this movie's bad. It's not as bad as Suicide Squad, I don't think. Just in terms of
very, very big of you to say.
It's not as bad as the worst movie, yeah. But it's you know what though? It didn't annoy me as much as Batman vs Superman did. I'll say that. You know, there was less Batman murdering people in this movie.
This film lacked direction. There was no creative making a choice that would annoy you. This just had no choices, you know?
Yeah. This one is just fun to point and laugh at more so, I think. I feel less guilty about it when it's so clearly a studio movie, you know?
Yeah, I suppose so. Creatives anger you because you know there's wasted talent there.
It's because they're making decisions that I actually disagree with. This movie makes no decisions.
Yeah.
I mean, it does, but they're just silly decisions. It's so funny, too, that a year after this, we get Thanos in Infinity War. And like, wow, what a step up.
What a step up, right? With 10 years of payoff. Right, Kyle, what is the next film in our DCEU watch through?
Our next movie is, of course, Aquaman 2018.
Wonderful. And I'm looking forward to that, actually. I haven't seen that since I think it came out.
Isn't it like the longest movie we've done so far?
It could be. It's a great film, at least to my memory. I'd say it's more Wonder Woman than it is Justice League. Put it that way.
Okay, well, I mean, we're on a real sliding scale there.
Yeah, right. We're more if there's a over or under 50%, it's more 50% towards Wonder Woman in my opinion. I wouldn't say it's as good as Wonder Woman though. Right, well, is that us? We got anything else?
I think that's us. I think this is already our longest episode. So.
It is. We've had a hell of a time recording this. Right. Kyle, where can our audience find you on the internet?
People can, of course, find me at Kyle the Scot on YouTube. That's the main one I want to plug. That's where my income comes from. So if you want to support me there, that would be ideal. Because you would also be supporting the podcast as well by supporting me. So, you know.
He's not wrong about that at all, ladies and gentlemen. And as always, you can find me on @NathanTinney on X, Twitter, Threads, Blue Sky, Hive.
Our favourite.
Our favourite. And I also run the @EnterTheDCEU Twitter account also online. I'm doing some fun stuff over there, try to get some polls up and running. We're seeing how it goes, guys. We're seeing how it goes. Anyway, thank you very much. I hope you've enjoyed listening to us, and you can hear us again next week with Aquaman.